Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers and then start our class where we are going to discuss our continuation of the discussion of detachment, Vairagya. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurбhavасвah Tatsavitravरेण्यं Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Astoma Satgamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Mritam Gamya Om Sahnavavatu Sahnabhunaktu Saviryam Karvavahi तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहे ओम शांति 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 As we all know that we are looking for ultimate freedom. Okay. And the experience, a direct experience of that freedom comes from samadhi. We really get a glimpse of that in samadhi. But in order to attain samadhi, the yogi guru says there are twin pillars of yoga to attain samadhi. One is called Abhyass and the other one is called Vairagya. Abhyass is the practice and Vairagya is the renunciation. So we have been talking about it last week also and earlier also. I mean, this is a very common subject for a practitioner because it's not just one time. This is like a part of our sadhana for the rest of our life. In fact, even after reaching samadhi also, we got to be very careful that we don't get trapped into this maya again. And this detachment or vairagya has to be cultivated gradually. At first, it will be limited vairagya. Probably it will be more intellectual than anything else. There may be just a little bit depth in the feelings of it also. But as we continue to practice our sadhana, we will find that renunciation arises spontaneously. It just becomes our second nature. Not only that, the intensity we will feel will be greater too. So that's when we become automatically more detached. And that is the progress for a yoga abhyasi. So automatically detach from the temporary and stay attached to the permanent. And what is the result of this detachment? We all know attachment brings pain and misery. Whether it's an object, a person, or even emotion, if we are attached for a long time, there is a pain and misery. Even if I have to carry this glass of water continuously for a few hours, there will be a pain in my hand. The same thing goes with the thoughts also, the feelings also. So attachment brings pain and misery, while detachment brings calmness and contentment. So this is one way to look at it, whether our practice of detachment working or not. Is there more calmness in our mind? Is there more contentment in any situation in our antakaran? That's how we judge it. Existing attitudes should be changed, and the detachment develops in every aspect of life. It is only a method which leads to relaxation and eventually takes us towards higher awareness. Detachment transforms itself into love for everything. Normally, we think that for love, we got to be attached. No. So, detachment transforms itself into love for everything, not ego love for our own advantage, but compassion. Because we feel oneness with everything, everybody. That kind of a love. And this happens as surely as a night follows the day. So gradually, slowly, surely it happens. As the deeper relationship existing between people and events is understood. So the path for most people is in and through the world while practicing yoga, including Karma Yoga. So we should be involved with the world. It is part of our life. And that's what we were talking about last week. It's not that we are running away from life. We live in the middle of our duties and keep on doing the duties in a detached way. Life exists to be experienced. So, but at the same time, we must try to become more aware and detached so that the ups and downs of daily life have less of an influence. So, the aim is to develop a mental attitude so when we are at a low stage, when something is taken away from us, or there's a sad moment or a crisis, they don't shake us up deeply. We stay peaceful at that time too. There might be a superficial effect, but not a detached person does not get overwhelmed. It does not mean that a person should become like a vegetable, hardened, totally indifferent. Rather, a detached person accepts life as it is, with its conflicts, hardships, and even unfairness. This is renunciation. This is Vairagya. Anyone can start to develop the attitude of Vairagya. Whether a person is a king or a beggar can renounce and still live in the world of activity and keep on doing their duty. We all have duties. A king can be surrounded by fabulous wealth and be totally detached. And even though a beggar has no material belongings, he can be completely attached. If that person continually craves objects and pleasures which he doesn't have. So it's like a Attachment or detachment is from the mind. So real renunciation is a mental attitude and not at all concerned with what one possesses or does not possess. So non-attachment is the attitude or feeling with which a yogi lives in the world without being affected by it. You can give a beautiful seat to sit. You can honor the person with the garlands and the flowers or even a crown, but internally, yogi is not internally affected by it. Outside, that person may say thank you and show smile also, but what is happening inside? Most people live in this world to fulfill their desires. When the desires are not fulfilled, they feel unhappy, even frustrated, disappointed. And ultimately, the entire personality is affected. But on the other hand, a person who is practicing this does not get affected. Good times are not so good times. In Sanskrit, the word for detachment is anasakti. That means unaffectedness. And which is the correct attitude to cultivate? Anasakti. Supposing a son does not care for his father, should the father be indifferent? No. He must try to improve the son's attitude. Yet, if the father is unsuccessful, his mind should remain calm and quiet. So, doing the duty as a father, it's the responsibility of a father to make the effort, but the result is not in father's hand. So, father's mind, a father who is on the path of yoga, mind will be calm. It does not get affected by the result. One must try to witness what is happening in life, but at the same time, correct the wrongs that are taking place. Our inner life, which is meant for spiritual evolution, should be free from the effects. That is the kind of attitude which has to be developed. What are some of the common errors made when practicing Vairagya? Let's look at that because we all are practicing it in our own ways. We got to know what kind of a mistake we can make. If a person makes the practice of non-attachment an external show, people you live with, people you deal with, will become hostile towards you and call you a crazy person. Real detachment is a philosophy, not an external show. It does not have to be expressed in day-to-day action. A person should act normally and not to say, I am so detached. There's nothing to be announced. Without becoming fanatical, a person should work as well as he can under the given circumstances with as much detachment and awareness as possible. So renunciation does not mean renunciation of actions, but of attachment. So we got to see, what do we need to renounce? If we don't have a clear idea about it, we will definitely make an error. Detachment is not something that can be developed just by thinking. Unless a person has some experience which changes the quality of the mind, the meaning of detachment cannot be understood. So to understand anasakti, vairagya, sannyas, or detachment, so whichever term really speaks to you, it's more than just an intellectual process. We must have a different quality of mind. And for that purpose, the mind has to be trained and educated. It's our mind which we are training. It is our intellect which we are educating. So these inner equipments which have been given to us, that's where the detachment starts. Not by just changing the place or changing the clothes or even changing the name. How can detachment be developed? Let's look at it, learn from the words of Shri Krishna. Shri Krishna tells Arjun to keep his actions and attachments separate. He says, keep your actions and the desire for action separate. Keep your actions and the results of your actions separate. Do not let anything affect your creative and natural skill and ability. So that's when he says, do your own duties, swadharam, not somebody else's. He says, even if you perform well somebody else's dharam, it will not help you. And if at any point there is expectation from the action, and you are looking for a gain and loss from the action, the mind will automatically get entangled in the action, and you will reap the consequences of either grief or elation. And both are dangers for a renunciate. In this manner, the mind continues to swing between grief and happiness. The swing of the mind keeps it disturbed, distracted, and always looking outwards. Where mind is supposed to be absorbed in the Atma and Paramatma, that mind is just looking at the results of the actions. The more you look out, the more entangled the senses become with the sense objects. When you become entangled with sense objects, Lord Krishna says, more desires arise. So thinking, entangling, and further increasing the desires. So when you become entangled with the sense objects, more desires arise, more attachments crop up, and again the mind is buffeted by the winds of loss and gain. So mind is constantly thinking about, I should do something where I'm getting a profit. Any which way. The cycle of grief starts once again. So what do we need to do? Involve yourself physically, mentally, wholeheartedly in the present moment. Absorb your mind into the karma that you are performing now. Instead of taking the mind into the past or into the future. So this way, Lord Krishna says, the karma becomes the tool for purification. The quality of happiness and satisfaction is greater with Vairagya than attachment. Because deep down, we are looking for the happiness, we are looking for the contentment, but we have forgotten where to get that. So that's why these great rishis, gurus, incarnates, they come and tell us, they show us. They live a life like that. We can follow. That's why we talk about their leelas, so that we get encouraged also. So the quality of happiness and satisfaction is greater with Vairagya. Remember that. Than attachment. Going back to that glass of water, if I keep carrying it with me, sure, it will hurt my hand and arm after a few minutes. But if I leave it down, whenever I need it, drink it, but put it down after that. Why do I have to be attached to it? The quality of happiness is greater if nothing can disturb our mind. So we need to look into our own mind. Is there anything which is disturbing me? And what are the results of living with non-attachment? Because this way we can just check ourselves. Are we improving on this path? Or are we staying in a stagnant position where we are, or we are going down? Non-attachment gives freedom from sorrow and makes a person absolutely bold and fearless. At some point in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that fearlessness is the quality of a jnani, of a devotee also. Fearlessness. He who has no attachment can really love others. Because that person's love is pure and divine. This is the master key to open the realms of bliss. Because from happiness, we want to rise up to the bliss. So non-attachment is an indispensable requisite in the practice of yoga. It elevates to sublime and the heights of this sadhana which we can't even imagine. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse number 19, Lord Krishna says, Tasmat sakta satatam karyam karam samachar asaktaha hi charan karam param apnoti purusha. He says, always perform actions which should be done without attachment. Why? Because by performing actions without attachment, a person can reach the supreme. That is the highest. Shri Krishna continually uses the word detachment throughout the Bhagavad Gita actually. When he was discussing Karma Yoga, He used that word. Raj Yoga also, Bhakti Yoga, and even in sannyas towards the end. It has been explained so beautifully why, how, and what is the ultimate effect of that is. But people always misinterpret detachment and connect it with carelessness and irresponsibility. But as yoga students, we should understand it properly and practice it. Because often this is a very common criticism by people who don't understand. Social irresponsibility does not arise from detachment. Because often people say you'll be responsible. No, that's not the case. In fact, exactly the opposite occurs. People who are detached in the real sense of the word, they become more responsible to the society and humankind. In other words, they work better by being detached. They are putting all that energy into their action. And in this way, everyone benefits more fully. Again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse number 25, Lord Krishna is making this point very clear for us. Saktaha karmanye vidvanso yatha kurvanti bharat kuryad vidvans tatha sakta chikirshuhu lok sangraham. As the ignorant act from attachment to action. See, sakta means attachment. So as the ignorant act from attachment to action, Arjun, so should the wise act without attachment. So where the wise should get the motivation then? Because ignorant gets the motivation from the fruits, that I'll get this, that's why I want to do that. Lord Krishna says the wise gets the motivation for the welfare of the world. I want to help others. Lok sangrah. Although the sannyasi lives in this world without attachments, he never acts carelessly or irresponsibly. In fact, a sannyasi is, or Vairagi is more careful than the ordinary people. And they feel more responsible also. If you look at the word responsibility, it really means the ability to respond. That's responsibility. And it is the detachment which really makes the sannyasi to respond creatively to life's situations. So detachment is not a listless non-involvement with life, but a living sacrifice. And sacrifice in the sense that personal gain you are sacrificing for the benefit of the others. And how can you do that? Because you see the sameness. Sameness everywhere. A person who is not motivated by thoughts of personal reward, because that's where the attachment comes, personal reward, and has clear insight, realizes his duty and does it with detachment and strives for purification. And at the same time, without any expectation for the fruits or the results of the work. So that's why a sannyasi can work far more efficiently than an ordinary person. Because all the energy is being put into that action which he is doing, instead of dissipating the energy, worrying or being anxious. A sannyasi works for the benefit of all. For a sannyasi, the work itself, he considers, is sufficient for me. Just doing the duty is the cause or even the motive, or even sharing the fruit or giving away the fruit to others is enough for a sannyasi. So this is like a very high level, but as I was telling you earlier, we keep on climbing up and up if we just understand it clearly. And day to day also, hour to hour, minute to minute, we just keep on developing this attitude. But first we have to understand it intellectually, accept this, that yeah, this is needed for my growth, for my evolution. And then looking within, what am I really attached right now to? What my fears are? Where do I get anxiety? But look within, introspect. But one thing is for sure, that this quality needs to be cultivated if we want to do more abhyas. Abhyas is the practice. Practice. Okay. So it could be any kind of abhyas you are doing. It could be on the bhakti yoga path, or a jnana yoga path, or a karma yoga path. No matter which path you are on steadily, this renunciation is definitely needed. Detachment. Detachment. Okay, we'll stop it here and go through some questions if you have. ॐ पूर्णमदा पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमदाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 ॐ. Thank you very much.